All right, so good morning, Arkansas. This is Assistant Chief Forecaster coming back here once again. We're here to give you guys a live update on what to expect as we get towards this evening and into tonight. If you guys can do me a favor, please like and share this live stream. That way you guys can kind of stay ahead on what to expect at this point here. So I could say good afternoon, everyone, instead of good morning. Everybody checking in, stuff like that. I'm waiting for a few more people to come in before I start going over this severe weather threat for tonight here. If you're looking for some decent rainfall chances, by the way, tonight into tomorrow is going to be your best shot here. So I'm seeing a lot of comments coming in. Hope everyone is having a great day across the board. We got an awesome game coming up at 2:30 this afternoon, so I figured I'd give you guys a quick live stream before that all gets started across the area here. Okay, so I think I've gotten everybody I can in here, so let's go and talk about this severe weather threat. We do have that slight risk that still remains in effect across much of central and western Arkansas here. This is mainly going to go for the potential seeing some damaging winds and some large hail. However, I can't rule out an isolated brief spin up. I think the best shot of that is going to be like right out of the gate. Probably with those first cells are going to go up this afternoon into this evening. But I do think the hail threat and the damaging wind threat will be your primary hazards with these storms that go up later on this evening and tonight. I'll have more on that coming up in your Futurecast in just a little bit. Some power outages will be possible as well. We'll have to watch out for that as we get towards this evening as well, because of the fact that the trees are so weak. We've had a drought in place. However, we have to watch out for that, especially with these storms that get going this evening as well here. Okay, flooding threat. I think I made an error on this graphic. I had no flooding threat. We actually do have a very slight flooding threat, especially across much of central and western Arkansas with these storms here. It's going to be kind of a waves of rainfall coming in. So if you've missed rainfall over the last couple of events, I think this shot that's coming in this evening into the night will be your best bet across the board here. And I said before, I'll go over that here just a little bit. Also, I'm seeing a lot of questions here. I'm going to get to questions as soon as I go over all the information at this point here. Okay, so with that being said, as I talked about before, this is the flooding threat for tonight here. So it includes Fayetteville, Fort Smith, over towards Little Rock, Brinkley, Pine Bluff, Arkadelphia, into the DeQueen area here. This is a marginal risk from the WPC. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous to have a marginal risk for flooding when you're in a drought right now, but you can get flooding, especially in situations where you have too much rainfall at once. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you see any kind of random flash flood warnings go out this evening and into tonight, just watch out for that. Remember, turn around, do not drown. I'm not expecting a significant amount of flash flooding. However, if you get too much of a good thing at once, that's where you start piling up the rainfall totals, and that's where you get the localized flooding here. But just a very low chance of some localized flooding, but just kind of watch that as we get towards the night here, okay? And also, as I mentioned before, everybody's, this afternoon, this evening, I know we got games and stuff going on. Do not grill or anything like that. Do not burn outside, guys. We have an extreme risk for wildfire danger. We've been stressing this over the last couple of weeks. This is the highest of high across the area here. This is the first time ever that the entire state has been under an extreme risk for wildfires. So keep that in mind here. Don't ignore it and stuff like that, guys. I promise you, if you go outside and you start something, it's going to get out of control quick. Okay, so do not burn outside today, guys. I know we got games going on across the board, but do not burn across the area here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into Futurecast, and then I'm going to answer some questions while I'm in the Futurecast here. So bear me for just a bit. Let me see if I can get this right. There we go. All right, so this is around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Not much going on across the area here. Now, I'm going to zoom in to the metro here just for a little bit. I'm going to zoom into this Clarksville, Russellville, the Little Rock area here, because this is going to be the area that you're going to have to watch for some development here. I say this corridor right in here is where you're going to have to watch for that development zone as we get towards this afternoon and into the evening hours. So this is right around 4 o'clock, okay? And then you can see, take this out, you can see about 6 o'clock, you've got some cells popping up near the Russellville area, near Conway across the board. And then about 7 o'clock, you see an explosion of thunderstorms. So what happens between 6 and 7 o'clock is your low-level jet starts kicking in, you start getting your shear in and stuff like that, and it taps into the very unstable atmosphere, and you see these storms going up here. Now, I will say, for the ones in this area here, so that's from Fort Smith to the metro, to Brinkley, to Memphis, all the way through here. Okay, if there were to be a tornado threat with any of these storms, it's going to happen at this time frame. Okay, it's going to happen at that time frame. It's going to be right at that point. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have these cells that are going to pop up, and if they were to tap into southerly, southeasterly winds just at the surface, you may see a brief spin up go up, but that will be the small window of opportunity to get it. Because beyond that point, what happens is these storms start forming what we call upscale growth. Basically, they become a line of storms. So you go from a very, very, very small tornado threat to a damaging wind and hail threat as you get towards the evening and into the nighttime hours here. But you can see about 7 o'clock, the Conway area, Russellville right there on 64, from Fort Smith over towards Conway, over towards Searcy. Memphis, you've seen some rainfall right now. We got some on radar behind me. But you should see some thunderstorms go up here. Now, you can take this out just a little bit further, and you can see how the thunderstorms become a lot more widespread in nature by the time we get towards your 8 o'clock time frame. So that's going to be the time frame that I want to kind of aim at. It's going to be about 6, 7, 8 o'clock this evening. So if you got any plans going out and stuff like that, it was a Saturday night, monitor our page, monitor the radar and stuff like that, and heed any warnings that you guys get. I'm not expecting a big tornado threat out of this. I know I said it a few seconds ago, but I'm not expecting a big tornado threat out of this. I think the biggest thing to worry about is going to be damaging winds and the large hail threat here. And the damaging winds, I mentioned before, we've talked about this a lot in previous severe events. I know it doesn't sound popular on paper, but damaging winds can be just as bad as dealing with a tornado. I can't tell you how many times I've chased severe thunderstorm warnings, and they ended up being just as bad. You couldn't tell the difference between a severe thunderstorm warning and a tornado warning. So just kind of keep that in mind across the board here. Severe thunderstorm warnings get issued. Heed those warnings. They're not meant to be ignored. They're out there for a reason. But you can see by the time we get towards 8 o'clock, that's where the thunderstorms get more widespread. And let's take us out to about 9 o'clock here. And you can see, we'll zoom this out so you guys can get a better visual on what to look at here. So from Fort Smith, right there on 40. This is why you're going to have to watch for that isolated flooding threat right there on 40. So we get towards this evening and into tonight. So from Fort Smith to Russellville, over to Conway, to the Metro, to Brinkley, to Memphis. This is going to be the corridor that you're going to have to watch for damaging winds. That's going to be 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts. Large hail, especially early on. I say that 6, 7 o'clock time frame. Don't be shocked if we're live talking about significant large hail with some of these storms. There was a hatched area for hail earlier. They removed it for some odd reason, but I think they should have probably kept it because these supercells are going to get going. But anyways, you're going to have to watch that for those supercells that get going first thing out of the gate. And then what's going to happen is they're going to develop more and more, and it's going to become a damaging wind threat and a flooding threat as we get towards night here. Okay, now we can take this out all the way to about 10 o'clock tonight. You can see the Metro starts getting into action. We're talking Brinkley, Memphis, Stuttgart, South Arkansas. I think you're going to be high and dry tonight, okay? North Arkansas is going to be a very late ball game for you guys here. But for South Arkansas, I think you're going to be pretty dry down there for tonight here. But you will see a shot of rainfall as we get towards tomorrow here, okay? Then you can see 11. There's 1 o'clock in the morning here. There's some good amount of rainfall here. I think that's the best thing we've seen from a couple weeks now is a good amount of rainfall across northern Arkansas, northeastern Arkansas. This is not going to be a significant amount of rainfall. I think rainfall totals are going to be between 1 to 3 inches of rainfall across the area. But any rainfall helps at this point. And you guys, we got an extreme drought. We've got extreme wildfire danger. We'll take any rainfall that we can get across the area here, okay? And you can see by the time we get towards 2, there's another area of some showers, thunderstorms starting to come into northwestern Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. This is where South Arkansas's rain chances are going to come from. It's going to come from this round over here in eastern Oklahoma. This round is going to come from the storms that fire right there on Interstate 40 or Interstate 30 this evening and into tonight here. Now you can take this out just a little bit further and you see 3 a.m. A good amount of rainfall here, guys. You're in North Arkansas. I think you're going to enjoy this forecast for tonight, especially if you can sleep with just some rain and some thunder here. Now, as I said before, some of these storms are going to be kind of loud tonight. I'm not expecting a severe weather threat tonight up there in northwestern Arkansas. You're talking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You lose your daytime heating and everything else. So it's going to be just some steady rainfall, some occasional thunder. It's going to be pretty loud tonight, so keep that in mind here. But no severe weather is expected for tonight, especially up here in northwestern Arkansas and northern Arkansas. Best shot is going to be through this corridor from Fort Smith to Russellville to Little Rock to Brinkley over towards Memphis. And that initial thunderstorm activity that gets going, that's where your severe threat is going to kind of lie on, and then it's going to eventually start to decrease as you get towards the night here. And you can see by the time we get towards tomorrow morning, I mean, there's a good amount of rainfall from Fort Smith to Mena, Russellville, same areas I keep repeating over and over. That's where your flooding threat's going to come with these storms are kind of training over the same area. So from Clinton over towards Mountain View, Jonesboro, over here, northeastern Arkansas, down to southwestern Arkansas, you're going to have to watch that first thing tomorrow morning. So you've got church, you've got plans first thing tomorrow morning. I'll take that umbrella with you. I know it's been a while since we've said that, but I'll take that umbrella with you first thing tomorrow morning. And let's take this out all the way to about 7 to 8 o'clock tomorrow morning as well. So this is where western Arkansas starts getting on the action. Southern Arkansas, no, you're kidding. You're just sitting high and dry. You're like, man, everybody north of me has gotten rainfall. Where's my rainfall? I think it's going to be late tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon for you guys down there in South Arkansas. Here, we can take this out all the way to about 11 o'clock, and then you can see what the HRR was doing. It doesn't have a lot down there, as a matter of fact. Does give you guys some rainfall chances down here. I think it's underdoing it a little bit because you won't have a good amount of moisture in place down here in South Arkansas. But we'll watch it closely, guys. But I think the majority of the rainfall totals are going to be from the Queen to Little Rock to Memphis, right through here. Okay, this is where your best shot of seeing some heavy rainfall across the board. We're talking 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. Why am I drawing, by the way? So 1 to 3 inches of rainfall through this area. Trace to about ½ an inch down here in South Arkansas with this event here, guys. So not much in terms of rainfall down there in South Arkansas across the board. So that's all I got for you guys at this point. I'm going to take some questions here. And it's, hold on. Dustin, if you can do me a favor and get that spam comment. I see that in the comments here, okay? So James, much needed rainfall still in the red flag warning up there in northern Arkansas. That's what I'm saying. I think you guys are going to enjoy the rainfall that we're going to get tonight, especially up there in northern Arkansas. So just hope our Futurecast is 100% accurate, because we definitely need the rainfall across the board here. And this is not us teasing you guys or anything like that. We wouldn't be talking about it if it weren't a legitimate possibility. Okay, so McCurtain County over there in Oklahoma had a wildfire, has a wildfire going on right now. We need rainfall. I can see the smoke all the way from Mena. I hope everything is okay. We can look into that after this live stream to see what's going on over there in McCurtain County over there in Oklahoma. That is in eastern Oklahoma, by the way. Just a little bit outside of the Mena area here, okay? So watching from Atkins, thank you very much. Let me see here. Let me go over some comments real quickly, guys. Let me see. Okay, thank you so much, Cam, for the time frame of Conway. Definitely putting our vehicles, just putting up our vehicles this time. That'd be a great idea. I'm going to back this up. All the way to about that 7 o'clock time frame. So I think that would be the best shot. If you're on 40 or on 64, you're going to have to watch these initial cells, because that's where your hail threat is going to come with these storms here. Right out of the gate here. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to see if I can get Dustin to take care of some of these spam comments at this point. Let's see here. Okay. All right, we're good now. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this is where your hail threat is going to rely. Renee, from Conway over to Russellville to Boonville, over towards BB and Brinkley. That's going to be the area of concern right there along 40 here, okay? So just kind of watch that at this point. Bryant, you will see some rainfall this evening into the night. So before, I'm going to take this out just a little bit. I'm going to zoom this out and show you guys what I'm talking about here, okay? So this is 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see from Little Rock North is where your best shot of rainfall is going to be across the area here, across central Arkansas, and then eventually north Arkansas here. So that includes the Bryan area, that includes Conway, Brinkley, Memphis, stuff like that. And as I said before, I get the frustration in terms of not seeing rainfall. Not everybody's going to get 100% guaranteed rain out of this, okay? However, this is the best shot of rainfall I've seen in quite some time, and I'm not going to argue against it. So I'll take it with anything that we can get at this point here. Even if it's a 1/4 inch of rainfall or 1/2 inch, we'll take whatever we can get out of this system at this point. But this is the best shot of rainfall we've seen, I think, in the last month across the area here, Okay, so the trees are weak and easily blown over. Great comment across the board, guys. That's the number one thing I'm worried about, especially with these initial storms that go up from 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock to 9. I think that's where your damaging wind, your hail, if there were to be a tornado threat, if there were to be a tornado threat, it'd be in that time frame, and it would take what we call a mesoscale accident. So basically, what that means is that any boundaries that are kind of laying around, if a storm were to tap into a boundary, you get southerly to southeastern winds locally, you see rotation start going, that's where you get the potential of seeing a isolated spin up. I wouldn't focus too much on the tornado threat out of this. This is not a tornado setup by any stretch of the matter, okay? But the damaging wind and the hail threat will definitely be there here, okay? So, Elizabeth, I see your comment, guys. For this particular situation, if we start seeing significant large hail, or we start racking up on the power outages and stuff like that, then yes, we will be live going over the severe thunderstorm warnings and stuff like that, because they do need to be treated as tornado warnings, okay? So keep that in mind across the board. But I'm not expecting major tornado activity out of this. This is not a tornado setup. This is more of a damaging wind and a pretty decent hail threat. As I mentioned before, we had a hatched area, which in layman's terms is called a significant large hail risk from Fort Smith to Little Rock, and they removed it. I don't know why they removed it. It may come back with the 2 p.m. update here, but I think that's going to be something that you're just going to have to watch this evening into the night here. One more thing, guys. This rainfall is not going to ruin. It's not going to bring out drought. Okay, it's not going to kill the drought. It's not going to kill the wildfire danger or anything like that. It's just welcome rainfall, but it's not going to get us out of the situation that we're here across the board. So please keep that in mind, especially when we get towards next week, because I know a lot of people are going to see this rainfall. They're going to get a lot of rain, and they're going to be like, okay, I can go out and burn. I can go out and do this, do that. No, that's a big no. You need about, in some particular cases, especially in western Arkansas, you need more than a foot of rain to even get to normal, to even have a chance to even talk about even some flooding problems or some bonfire potential and stuff like that. Okay, you need a foot of rainfall to get out of a drought right now. This is not going to get the job done. This is helping us, no doubt. This is going to be something that we haven't seen in quite some time. Definitely some rainfall potential, but it's not going to get us out of a drought. It's not going to do it. So do not burn next week or anything like that. Even if you see rainfall tonight, don't do it, guys. It just ain't worth it. It's going to take we're going to have like 4 or 5 of these events same to what we're seeing tonight to even put a dent in the drought here with this setup here. Okay, so do you think it'll get severe or just loud and stormy? I think at first you will have to deal with the severe threat, especially from Fort Smith to Russellville to Little Rock to Brinkley to Memphis. But tonight, during the overnight hours here, let's take this out a little bit. And you can see right around that 2 o'clock time frame here, if you're in northern Arkansas, these will be non-severe thunderstorms. These are going to be loud, stormy up there in northern Arkansas, but these are going to be non-severe thunderstorms up here in northern Arkansas. Keep that in mind across the board here, okay? But I'm not expecting a significant amount of severe weather during the overnight hours. I think the best shot is going to be between 6 and 10 p.m. So basically where that slight risk is, as a matter of fact, I can pull that up for you guys right now here. So basically in this yellow zone, from Fort Smith to Russellville to the metro, over to Memphis to Stuttgart to Mena, this is where your shot of seeing severe weather is going to be at its max. And I think it's going to be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then beyond 10 o'clock, I think you're going to be done with the severe weather threat across the board. And then you'll just have to deal with the steady rainfall and the loud storms are going to be going on as we get towards night here. Okay, so Elijah, I saw your comment, by the way. Do you think severe thunderstorm watch will be issued in the slight risk zone to do the hail and wind risk? I do believe so. I think it's going to be, they'll probably put a mesoscale discussion out about 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. It'll probably be a watch. They'll go out probably from about 4, 5 o'clock to about 10 o'clock tonight. It's going to be a short-lived watch, but I think it's going to include that slight risk zone here because of the fact that you get supercells that develop, and those supercells initially are going to be severe. Those are going to be the ones that you're going to have to watch for that severe threat. And that's particularly the Russellville, the Conway area down to Little Rock. That's going to be the area of concern here. And if we start racking up with power outages and stuff like that, we will be live across the board here. Okay, so the time frame for rainfall up there in Bentonville, we're talking later on tonight here. So we can back this up a little bit and show you guys kind of this a little bit graphically here. Okay, so this is right around, so I want to give you some rainfall about 10 o'clock. So I think 10 o'clock is a good starting time frame for up there in Bentonville. It's going to be from 10 o'clock tonight all the way throughout the overnight hours tonight in the first part of your tomorrow morning here. So I was saying up there in North Arkansas, if you got church plans first thing tomorrow morning, I'd go ahead and bring that umbrella and stuff like that, red or rain jacket. I know it's the first thing we've talked about in the last couple of weeks here, but definitely some beneficial rainfall across the board here, across northern Arkansas. Okay, so is Lake Hamilton in a risk? I believe so. This marginal risk, even if you're in a marginal risk area up here in northern Arkansas, this is the slight risk zone from Fort Smith to Russellville to Little Rock to Stuttgart to Memphis. Then you have a marginal risk zone from Bentonville to Jonesboro down to Dumas down here in southern Arkansas. So I do believe Lake Hamilton is in that severe risk, mainly for the potential damaging winds, large hail. I know everybody is kind of wondering about that tornado threat. Every time we have a severe threat, you got to talk about the tornado threat. This one, you're not going to get a tornado threat out of this. Okay, if it happens, it's going to be what we call a mesoscale accident. Basically, it's a storm that taps to a boundary. We get something random happen. You see a random warning. Okay, but I'm not particularly focused on the tornado threat. I think the damaging wind and the hail threat will be your primary risk, especially in this yellow zone from Russellville to Conway to Little Rock to Fort Smith over towards Memphis across the area. Okay, so the Marshall area, we're talking about 10, 11 o'clock tonight up there in northern Arkansas. I think by that point, I think northern Arkansas, it's going to be a loud night. It's not going to be a very, very severe night in northern Arkansas. I'm not expecting a lot of severe weather up there. I think the best shot of severe weather is in central Arkansas along that yellow zone you guys saw from Fort Smith to Russellville to Little Rock over to Memphis. But northern Arkansas, I can't rule out, couple of special weather statements, a few severe thunderstorm warnings up there tonight, unless something majorly changes. But I'm not expecting a whole lot of severe weather up there for tonight here. Okay, so for the River Valley watching, you guys will see some rainfall for tonight. I think you guys are going to start the ball over there for the severe threat. Let's back this up a little bit. Okay, so you can see about 7 o'clock tonight. So right through here, let's zoom down and show you guys what I'm talking about here. Okay, so from Booneville to Russellville to Conway to Searcy, Brinkley, this corridor right in here, that's where you're going to have to watch for that severe threat as we get towards 9 over here. So 7, 8 o'clock is going to be the time frame for seeing some severe weather here. Okay, so give us a rundown of what we're expecting between 7 and 10. The best thing is going to be damaging winds and hail. Like I said before, if, and I mean only if, there's a tornado threat with this setup, it's going to be with this activity. And it's not going to be a lot. I think the damaging wind and hail threat is going to take priority with this setup versus a tornado setup. You just don't have the setup in place in here. And I can show you this real quickly, okay? So let's take a look at this. So this is the reason why I'm saying the tornado threat is very low. All right, first and foremost, your winds aloft are coming out of the southwest. Your winds at the surface are coming out of the southwest, okay? When you have parallel winds aloft and at the surface, every single time it's going to be a damaging wind and hail threat. You're not going to get a tornado threat out of this because you have no rotation going on in the low levels and in the mid levels, okay? The best thing we have going for us in terms of damaging wind and hail threat is the northwest flow with this, okay? So you see there's some crossing of the winds at the mid levels. That's why your hail threat is going to be ridiculously high from that 7 to 10 time frame. However, you do not have these southerly winds coming in at the surface to help you with the rotation and low levels to connect that to a tornado threat. That's why I'm saying the tornado threat is very low with this setup here, if you even see a tornado threat with this setup, because you just don't have the southerly winds with this. If we were talking southerly and southeasterly winds, then definitely this would be a tornado setup, and I think that 7 to 10 time frame would be the worst time to kind of see that tornado threat kind of take place. But you're not going to see with this setup here. You need to change your winds. You need to change your winds at the surface before you start talking a tornado threat here. But you've got southwest winds kind of going parallel. That's where your damaging wind threat. You can see by the time you get towards 8, 9, 10, you see how those storms, they went from supercells to kind of more of a line because of the fact that your winds are parallel. Okay, that means you're not seeing the rotation going on, and the supercells are not able to sustain themselves, and they go to more of a line versus a tornado threat at this point. So I think damaging winds and hail will be your primary threats to watch out for, especially for that 7 to 10 time frame across the area here. Okay, so let me see here. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear the rain and BB here this morning. I know there was a one round that went through this morning here. We had a quick round of rain and thunderstorms moved through central Arkansas this morning. That one was kind of what we call a forecast bust. I didn't expect too much of rainfall out of that this morning. If you got rainfall, great. I love to see forecast busts, especially rainfall, especially right now. But that was kind of a surprising kind of round that moved through first thing this morning across the area here. Okay, so this is going to be, yes, and I just mentioned before, this is going to be wind and hail. I know everybody, when they hear severe weather, the first thing that comes to their mind is tornado. The main threat will be wind and hail. The wind and hail needs to be just as popular as the tornado threat. Okay, I'm not expecting a big tornado threat out of this. You don't have to set up for it with this setup. The damaging wind and the hail threat will be your primary risk. I'm expecting to see a lot more severe thunderstorm warnings than any tornado warnings, if we even see any tornado warnings at all. Okay, but always, anything occurs, you guys know how Arkansas is. We'll be here, we'll be live if that were to occur. But I think the primary threat is going to be damaging winds and hail with this setup here. And then why I'm stressing so much about damaging wind threat is because of the drought. We're in extreme drought right now. We have extreme fire risk right now. So any 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts that get going, that's where you're going to have a power outage issue across the area. Damaging winds can be just as bad as dealing with a weak tornado, so keep that in mind. Also, one more thing I want to stress to you guys too, especially for my folks down there in South Arkansas. If you start seeing a lot of lightning with these storms and they go away from thunderstorms, any lightning that hits the trees and stuff like that can start fires. So monitor that as well. I'm not expecting a big wildfire danger with this because you'll have a good amount of showers, thunderstorms getting going. It's not going to be dry thunderstorms or anything like that, but kind of watch out for that as well. You guys see any fires, you guys know what to do. And please let us know if that were to be the case, but just something to kind of monitor because the trees and stuff are just so dry right now. You get one lightning strike on those trees, and that's where you can have a real problem on your hands across the area here. Okay, so what's the percentage of hail? Let's talk about that real quickly here. Okay, so let's talk about that real fast here. There's the hail threat with this. Okay, so 15% slight risk for the hail potential from Fort Smith to Russellville to Searcy to Brinkley to Little Rock to Stuttgart to Helena over to Mena. This is where your hail threat is going to be at. Let's go back to 7 o'clock real quick. So I'm going to back this up. Okay, this is where your hail threat is going to maximize. At 7 o'clock this evening. Okay, so I saw that one comment, I think it was Renee, if I'm correct, that said they were going to put their vehicles in at 7 o'clock. That'd be the best thing to do. Okay, it's going to be short-lived. I think your 7 to 10 time frame will be the best shot of seeing severe weather. Beyond 10, you're going to go linear. You're not going to have a lot of instability left. You're going to lose a lot of daytime heating, and that's where you're going to have your severe threat started to dwindle throughout the overnight hours. But I think from that 7 to that 10 time frame will be the best shot of seeing severe weather here. So Elijah, I saw your comment about the severe thunderstorm watch. I think it will be in this zone right here, from Fort Smith to Brinkley. I think that will be where your watch will be at this point. It'll be a short-lived watch. It'll go to probably about 10, 11 o'clock tonight, and then it'll expire. So just kind of monitor that. It's going to be pretty short-lived with a severe threat, but at least everybody sees rainfall. That's the biggest thing with this setup. Everybody sees rainfall across the board here. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so we hear you about rainfall. We hear you about the wind. We're in Conway. What we're looking at starting at 7 o'clock throughout the night. You keep talking about the rainfall. If it's not the rain, let's talk about what we need to be concerned about. Okay, like I mentioned before, the hail threat. The hail and the wind threat will be the main things you need to be concerned about over there in Conway. 7 to 10 will be your time frame. I'm not expecting a tornado threat out of this. Okay, the main thing with this slight risk is going to be damaging winds and the large hail threat. That's from Fort Smith to Russellville, Conway, to BB, over towards Brinkley. Okay, and then what's going to happen beyond 10 p.m. tonight? That's where your threat is going to start to dwindle. Okay, we can take this out a little bit. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10. You see how those storms went from isolated to widespread. That's where your damaging wind threat is going to start to occur. And then beyond 10 o'clock, you lose your daytime heating. You start losing your instability across the board. And that's where you have that threat of severe weather start to dwindle throughout the overnight hours here. So for the Conway area, I hope I made this as clear as I possibly could. The damaging wind threat and the hail threat will be your primary risk for tonight. Okay, that will be your primary threat for tonight here in that yellow zone from Fort Smith to Russellville, to Conway, to the Metro, to Brinkley, to Stuttgart, Hot Springs, and Mena. The only reason why I brought up the tornado threat is because with these supercells right here, let's take this back to 7 o'clock, if, and I mean only if, there's any boundaries or anything like that just kind of lingering around, you may see a little bit of rotation. And 9 times out of 10, when rotation starts getting going, that's where you have that isolated tornado threat, which will normally result in a warning. Not expecting a lot of tornado action tonight, guys. The damage you win in health threat is going to be the primary concern here. Pam, I talked about that just a bit ago, about the lightning should be the big concern. Yes, I do think that's going to be the big concern for tonight, especially across central Arkansas and north Arkansas with these storms that get going. You're going to have to watch that closely, especially if you start seeing some what we call CGIs, or clouds of ground lightning, across the board here. Because if that happens and it strikes one of these dry vegetation areas, that's where you can have the potential of seeing some fires. So keep that in mind for tonight. I'm not expecting a widespread wildfire issue tonight with these storms, because they're not what we call dry thunderstorms here. Basically, you see that out in the southwest a lot. Dry thunderstorms are basically lightning, but no precipitation. That's the worst thing you can get if you're in a wildfire danger, because the lightning hits the vegetation catches on fire, and then you result in a wildfire. So I don't think that's going to be the case for tonight. All these thunderstorms should produce precipitation, but just kind of watch out for that. I would say probably like the Little Rock area, the Brinkley area, like if these storms go up, if you're like outside of these storms, I would watch out for that. But I do believe what's going to end up happening here is these thunderstorms are going to become more widespread, and you're going to have a good amount of rainfall kind of get going across the area here. Okay, so I'm coming in late. What are we looking at in terms of wind gust potential? We're talking 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, especially with these storms right around that 7, 8 o'clock time frame across the area here. And then what's going to happen beyond 10 o'clock, and I'm going to stress this a lot, beyond 10, your severe threat will start to dwindle. Okay, let me zoom this out, show you guys a little bit what I'm talking about here. Okay, so you go from supercells at 7 p.m., okay, 8, 9, 10. So those supercells become more widespread. They start merging with other storms, and that's where your severe threat is going to start to the window as we get towards night here. So keep that in mind across the area. I know overnight tonight it's going to sound loud. These storms are going to sound like they're severe, but I promise you guys, unless there's a warning for it, they're not severe. Okay, it's just going to be your typical overnight thunderstorms that sound like they're severe, but they're not across the area. They're going to be pretty loud across the area here. But the one thing I'm really excited about is the rainfall potential out there, because this is, like I said, the best rainfall potential I've seen over the last couple of weeks here across the area. Okay, so with that slight risk be expanded northward, that's going to be a no. And the only reason why it's going to be a no is because of the fact of the timing. If the timing was about 4 or 5 hours earlier, then I could see it across North Arkansas. But the problem is you're losing daytime heating, and you're losing the instability here. And the instability is the primary reason why we're seeing a severe threat to begin with. So I don't think the slight risk will be moved northward. I think this is a really good risk. I would argue, and this is not a bash or anything, the Storm Prediction Center or anything like that, the hatched area they had earlier that went kind of like this through this area will be a great call, especially for that 7 to 10 time frame, because your health threat is so high. They removed that threat with the noon update. Let's see if they bring it back with 2 p.m. But that would be the only thing I would argue with that point here. But other than that, I think this risk is a really good setup across the board here, because you're losing daytime heating tonight, and it's only because of your timing. So I think the slight risk will remain right where it is. Marginal risk will remain right where it is, and everybody will see some generalized thunderstorms tonight. And then first thing tomorrow morning, let's take this out a little bit for those that are kind of tuning in. So let's take this out a little bit. So you can see 1 a.m. and then 2, 3. You can see a lot of rainfall up here in northern Arkansas across the board here. Stacy, I'm not ignoring your comment as well. I see a lot of people about South Arkansas. South Arkansas, you're going to be on the short end of this stick unless something changes. I think the best rainfall potential is going to be from the Queen to Pine Bluff to Memphis, points north. I think it's going to be a north to central Arkansas event. South Arkansas, unless something changes, and I hope and pray that our model guidance is kind of underdoing the rainfall down there for tomorrow, but I do believe your best shot is going to be across north to central Arkansas, which is disappointing, because I would love for you guys to see some rainfall down there in South Arkansas. I'd love for the entire state to get a good amount of rainfall out of this because of the fact that we're just so freaking dry right now. It's not even funny, but you can see what it does here. So you get a little bit of shower activity down there in South Arkansas, but I mean, it just completely kills that threat as we get towards tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening down there in South Arkansas. So I hope that changes across the board. But right now, South Arkansas, I think you're going to end up getting the short end of that stick here. So has timing changed on when this is going to get started? No, we had 6 o'clock this morning with the severe weather outlook. That has not changed at all. I think it's going to start about 6, 7 o'clock this evening. It's going to go from about 7 p.m. to 10. Beyond 10 o'clock, the severe threat will start to decrease because you'll lose your daytime heating and your instability. The storms are going to sound very loud. The only reason they're going to sound loud is because we'll have a lot of instability aloft, which is above our heads. But at the low levels, to connect the severe potential with both the aloft and your surface, you're not going to have a lot of surface instability. So they're going to sound loud. They're going to sound like they're producing severe weather, but they're not. It's just going to be your overnight typical rainfall, thunderstorms across the board, which is, like I said before, a blessing. I take it. If we got to pay for it for severe weather, we just have to pay for it. But I take any kind of rainfall we can get right now, guys, because we're in extreme wildfire danger, we're in extreme drought, and we need it. We need the rainfall no matter how we get it. So that's the thing here, okay? So Elizabeth, great comment. Lightning, don't forget how dangerous it is. Stay safe indoors. I cannot stress that enough. And that kind of ties in to those severe thunderstorm warnings, Elizabeth. You got to take those severe thunderstorm warnings seriously, guys. You don't need a big flashing red box to tell you to go inside. Severe thunderstorm warnings, so forth, from a chaser's perspective, I've seen them take off a lot more in some cases than a tornado warning. So keep that in mind here with that damaging wind threat and hail threat. Severe thunderstorm warnings go out, you need to heed them. If you're outside, if you got plans this evening, I know it's a Saturday evening, everybody's going to go out, stuff like that. But if any severe thunderstorm warnings get issued, guys, you need to take them seriously. Don't just ignore it or anything like that. You're in place for a reason, okay? So, Pam, I got to your question here. I got to cut out short. Thank you for keeping us safe. No problem at all. So for this live stream will be on the page, so you guys can kind of tune in if you need to hear. Okay, so what kind of rainfall can we expect for tomorrow here? Okay, so the generalized, I'll give you guys a generalized rainfall total across the board. It's going to be 1/4 inch to as high as 2 inches of rainfall. Some areas may get very blessed and see more than that, while other areas will likely not see a lot. I think South Arkansas is going to be one of those areas that you're not going to see a lot of rainfall. Central and North, I think a generalized 1/4 inch to about 2 inches of rainfall will be your best shot of seeing across the area in terms of rainfall totals for a generalized area across the area. Specific location rainfall totals are going to be uncertain because it just depends on where thunderstorms develop, where they set up, where does the training occur, and stuff like that. But just kind of watch that close across the area here, okay? So is South Arkansas going to see any rain? I hope you guys do. I really hope you guys do. I could take this out to about 1, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Didn't have a lot down there. I really hope you guys see rainfall. I hope this is being underdone. I hope the rainfall chances are a lot higher down there in South Arkansas, but I just don't see a lot down there across the board here, okay? So, Selena, let's go back and talk about that real quick. So if a tornado were to occur, let's just put that scenario out there. It's a very low shot, but if a tornado were to occur tonight, will it dissipate quickly or will it keep going? It's going to dissipate quickly. And like I said before, it's because of your setup. This is not a tornado producing setup at all. This is a damaging wind and hail threat setup. This is not a tornado setup. I'll make myself clear about that. I mentioned that threat because of the fact that I know how these threats take off. I always keep myself prepared for any kind of random warnings. We saw this in Wisconsin the other day. You know, you always want to be prepared for the unexpected, right? So if, and I mean only if, any tornado threat were to be realized this evening, it's going to be quick, it's going to be brief, it's going to be something that happened like a mesoscale accident, and it's not going to last long. It's not going to be a monster wedge or anything like that. It's going to be something that, you know, a radar indicated rotation. It's going to be something super quick, and it's going to be gone. And it's going to go to a damaging wind and hail threat. So if that were to occur, we will be here. I promise you. But do not focus on just that tornado threat. I want to stress you guys so much because this is not a tornado setup. This is a damaging wind and hail threat setup versus a tornado setup. You don't have the winds at the surface to connect to a tornado threat. If we had southerly winds or southeasterly winds at the surface with this setup, I would see it, and I would be very concerned for that I-40 corridor, especially with those supercells going up about that 6-7 o'clock time frame. But we don't. We have southerly to southwesterly winds, which means they're going parallel, which means any supercells that get going are going to develop. They're going to be hailers. They're going to produce damaging winds, and then they're going to merge with other cells, and they're going to die off. That's going to be the game plan for this evening and into the night. So kind of keep that in mind here. But I do appreciate that comment. I'm not trying to like bash you or anything like that for thinking about that. Like I said before, this is we expect the unexpected here in Arkansas. You know, we saw this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. We had no tornado threat, right? And we had a tornado warning up there in northeastern Arkansas just right out of the gate. So we'll watch it close. Anything happens, we'll be here. If any warnings get issued, we'll be here. But I want to stress, if any severe thunderstorm warnings get issued and they start producing significant damage, then we will break in with that point here. Okay, so we got hit with the last one with a big hailstorm. Renee, I think the hail threat will definitely be a pretty decent problem across the area, especially across that central Arkansas area where that slight risk is across the area as we get towards this evening into tonight. I said before, Storm Prediction Center had a what we call a significant large hail threat this morning. We had a post about it, and then they removed it at noon for some odd reason. I don't know why they removed it. I don't control them or anything like that, but I do believe they should have kept it because I think your hail threat will be maximized from that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock time frame. Then after 10, you'll start to the window on that threat here. Okay, so about Montgomery and Garland County, I do believe with this particular cell, let's back this up. Okay, so that's going to be right here in southwestern Arkansas. Okay, and you can see what happens is you guys see some rainfall first thing tomorrow morning. So I think the severe threat will probably remain to your north initially. All right, so before, this is simulated radar. Don't take it for 100% guarantee. You may see some storms may try to fire down here in South Arkansas, but if you don't see anything with the initial round, then you'll see it with the second round coming in with this heavy rainfall coming in the eastern Oklahoma and the western Arkansas first thing tomorrow morning. So at least there's some rainfall potential across the area here. And I mentioned before, and I keep stressing this is the best shot of rainfall we've seen in quite some time here. Okay, so is this going to be a large hail event like we saw back in April? Our house in East Conway got hammered. I would pray that that's not the case, Brandy. I'm concerned deeply, especially for that 6 to 10 time frame. The best thing that is working with us, I guess, that's working with us with this setup, it's such a short window of opportunity to get those that hail potential. Back in April, we had a bigger time frame. We had a better setup in April. Obviously, we had a lot of instability and stuff like that. But this time around, the window is much shorter. So, will we have a hail threat? Definitely. And I would definitely watch it, especially from that I-40, Highway 64 corridor from Fort Smith to Conway to Little Rock. However, I don't think this is going to be a massive hailstorm across the board unless something completely changes with guidance and we start seeing more supercells develop versus this thing going into a linear mode. That's going to be the best case scenario. We need this to go straight linear quick because if it stays supercellular in nature and the longer these supercells kind of hang around, let's back this up a little bit, give you like a visual example. So 7 p.m. Okay, let's back this up all the way to 7 p.m. Okay, if these cells hang around a lot longer than what is currently anticipated, then I can see a major hail threat this shade. That's why I was saying earlier on when we had that significant large hail threat in that zone, I would have kept it. I wouldn't have removed it. I would have kept it because you don't know how long those supercells are going to kind of keep going in nature because they're going to initially tap in to a good amount of instability. Then what's going to happen, these storms are going to merge, other storms are going to develop, and that's where you're going to go from a hail threat to a damaging wind threat, and then you'll start dwindling that severe threat throughout the overnight hours here. So I hope that makes sense in a way. I would watch out. Renee had a great comment earlier about putting your vehicles up. As soon as you see those storms start going up in that Russellville, Conway area, I'd go ahead and move your car into a garage or something like that, or at least cover it up. That way you're not taking any sort of risk with these storms because initially these are going to be hailers. These are going to be hailstorms right out of the gate, and then they're going to go damaging wind threat with the line of storms, and then you're going to have the severe threat start to the window as we get towards night here, okay? Drew County down there in southern Arkansas, unfortunately, I don't see a lot of rainfall right now. If that changes, that would be great, but I don't think I'm not going to see a lot of rainfall down there in South Arkansas. I know it's kind of a heartbreak for you guys down there in South Arkansas. Hope guidance is underdoing the rainfall. 9 times out of 10 they normally do, but I just don't see a lot down there in South Arkansas. I think your best shot is going to be central and north with this particular event here. Okay, so missed the first half of your broadcast, Stacy. As I mentioned before, down there in South Arkansas, I don't expect a lot of rainfall here. If you get lucky and see a good amount of rainfall, congrats. I'll put it this way: guidance did not have the morning round this morning, and a lot of people saw rainfall. So I'm hoping that model guidance is underdoing the rainfall down there, and you guys get a good amount, just as much as we do up here in Central and North Arkansas. But unfortunately, right now, I don't see a lot here. So Alexandria, that time frame, Maria, I see your comment. I think that time frame is going to be from that 6 to 10 o'clock time frame. And then after 10, those storms will start moving. It's going to be weird, but these storms are going to start moving north because the boundary is going to be moving north. And then you're going to have your cold front coming in late tomorrow and the Monday, and it's going to push those showers, thunderstorms in North Arkansas down into Central and back down into South Arkansas before it's all said and done. However, do I need to stay up in case of a tornado warning? I want to make this crystal clear to everybody that's worried about the tornado threat. Don't expect it, okay? I know there's going to be somebody out there that's going to come to me at about 8, 9 o'clock tonight, and they're going to be like, hey, I thought you said this is going to be a tornado threat, stuff like that. You're hyping it. I'm not hyping it, okay? I always expect the unexpected. I brought the tornado threat up because I don't trust these supercells right out of the gate. If, and I mean only if, a tornado threat were to be realized, it's going to be in this time frame. However, I would not stress myself over it. I do believe it's going to be a damaging wind and hail threat. If a warning goes out, we'll be here. But I'm not expecting it. Neither should you. You should not expect a tornado outbreak or anything like that. It's perfectly okay to be prepared for one. Absolutely. Warning goes out, at least I give you guys a heads up. It's just from my perspective, if you're going to watch for any sort of isolated torque threat, a little bit of a pre-spin up or anything like that, it's going to be in that 6 to 10 time frame with these storms that you see on your screen right now. And then after 10 o'clock, you're done. So overnight tonight, for those who are going to be wondering, we're not expecting a tornado threat. I'm not expecting any sort of major severe weather throughout the overnight hours here, okay? I just want to make that perfectly clear to you guys right out of the gate. I'm not expecting it I'm not expecting it throughout the overnight hours here, but I would say for that 6 to 10 time frame, if, and I mean only if there were to be one, it'd be in that time frame with those supercells going up. But I do believe it's going to be a damaging wind threat here. Pam, great comment. That's another one of my concerns. It's going to be damaging wind. Let's take this out to about, I say 9, 10 o'clock tonight, okay? So here we are at 9, 10 o'clock tonight. You see these line segments that go up across this area here from Fort Smith to Little Rock. Let's zoom this down a little bit so you guys can kind of get a little bit of a view on what we're looking at here. So from Russellville to Conway to BB to Brinkley, great comment. Severe thunderstorm warning goes out, it's producing 70, 80 mile per hour winds. Do it. By all means, do it. Severe thunderstorm warnings, you need to heed them, okay? Because what's going to happen is you get those types of winds, you start seeing high winds with this, trees are going to come down because they're so weak and stuff like that. So keep that in mind across the board. We've seen this so many times in the summer, it's not even funny. But if there were to be an isolated tornado threat, it's going to be in that short window of opportunity. And then beyond that, no tornado threat is expected with this here, guys. I'm getting a lot of questions in at this point here, okay? So 6 to 10 will be the main time frame here. We need the rainfall. That's the number one thing. That's the one thing. It's the rainfall. That's the one thing I'm excited about is getting some rainfall here, guys. This is the best shot I've seen in quite some time. Selena, yeah, I wasn't like bashing or anything like that. I understand that being prepared. That's perfectly fine. Okay, I hope I didn't mean to come that off like it's disrespectful or anything like that. It was just I was trying to make sure because a lot of people hear that tornado word and it takes off. So that's why I was kind of saying, hey, anything occurs, we're here. I've seen stranger things, you guys know, here in Arkansas. If you lived here long enough, stranger things have happened. A couple weeks ago, during the Hawk game, random tornado warning up there in northeastern Arkansas. We had to go live for it. That's what I'm kind of looking at. If anything were to happen, it's going to be very isolated in nature. It's going to be like, one cell that goes up, taps into a random boundary nearby, and then boom. You get an isolated tornado warning, we have to cover it, and then that tornado warning goes away, and then you're done for the night. If that were to be a case, I think that would be it. Mainly severe thunderstorm warnings. Pam, you got a great point. Keep those severe thunderstorm warnings, guys, because these thunderstorms, when they go up, they're going to be tapping into a lot of energy. There's a lot of instability we're going to have in place across the board, and they're going to be capable of producing 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts with these storms here. So please keep that in mind here across the area. Okay, so Pam, great comment. I would say, and some people may argue with me about this, 60 to 70 miles per hour will probably be your best shot. Anything higher than 70 miles per hour, obviously, but 60 to 70, because of the fact that if you're outside and you're dealing with 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, they can damage windows, you can bring trees down, stuff like that. And this particular situation, in a normal stance, if we had a lot of ground moisture, I wouldn't be so worried about power outages. I wouldn't be so worried about tree limbs coming down and stuff like that. However, we're in extreme drought. We're in extreme wildfire danger. That's what I'm worried about. These trees are so freaking weak because we haven't had a lot of moisture. And trees need moisture to live off of, correct? So you get 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts, those trees, with them being so brittle, they're going to break easily. Right now, I'm glad we don't have an ice storm, because if we had an ice storm coming, we'd probably screwed. But this particular situation, you get one of these severe thunderstorms that go up, they start producing 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts. In a normal situation, it wouldn't be too bad, but in this particular situation, you just got to watch it because the tree limbs are just so brittle, and it won't take much for them to fall, especially if you get the winds just high enough here. Okay, so from West Memphis over there, you guys had rainfall. I think you guys had some rainfall, some showers and thunderstorms first thing this morning. Those thunderstorms are leaving out of the area now. I would expect some additional showers, thunderstorms as we get towards this evening and into the night here. So safe travel from Fort Smith to Hatfield, right around that 6 to 10 time frame. I would say be careful. I think you should be relatively good to go, because the biggest thing with that time frame is going to be where the storms initiate. Will they initiate in Russellville, Conway, the Metro, Searcy? It just depends on where they initiate. That's where guidance is kind of back and forth with right now. Where does it initiate and where does it take off? Right now, I'm just saying, if you're outside 6 to 10 time frame, monitor the radar closely, monitor us closely. If we're live, be sure to tune in and stuff like that. Not expecting a tornado outbreak or by any stretch of the matter. But the one thing I'm worried about is that damaging wind and hail threat. And if, and I mean only if, a warning goes out, we'll be here. We'll keep you guys updated on that here. Okay, so also one more thing while I have everybody here. Okay, if you see hail, if you see damage, if you see rainfall, clouds, anything, send it in. Okay, if you can do it safely, send it in. We love you guys' pictures. We love you guys' videos. We love when you guys send them to us. Okay, if you can do it safely, by all means, knock yourselves out. Okay, please do. We'll post on the page. We'll have credit on to you. If we're live, we'll broadcast it live and stuff like that. But if you guys can do it safely, and that's the one thing, don't go outside trying to get something in the middle of a storm for us. Okay, we want you guys to be safe across the area here. If you see power outages, if you see trees down, let us know, because that will relay the information out to everyone else, and we can get that information to emergency management and stuff like that here. So if you guys see that, please let us know. Okay, send it to us in our inbox. We have our email and stuff like that. But the best way probably the inbox, especially in these situations here. Okay, so from a safe location, just don't go out or anything like that. Elizabeth, great comment and stuff like that. Will we get a lot of rainfall? Biggest thing is going to be 1 to 3 inches of rainfall in North Arkansas. It's not going to be. I saw this meme the other day. It's not a lot, but it's honest work. That's how it is. It's not a lot of. It's not going to be a significant amount of rainfall. It's not going to get us out of a drought. There's going to be somebody out there next week, and this is me to you, because I know someone's listening to this live stream right now that's planning on burning next week. Don't do it. Don't do it. This is not going to be the rainfall that's going to get you out of a drought. It's not going to be the rainfall that's going to get you out of wildfire danger. Could it lower it next week? Perhaps, depending on how much your area sees. But do not burn next week. That's my number one thing. That's my caution to you right now. If you're listening to this, you're trying to think about, hey, I'm going to go outside and do this next week, stuff like that. don't. Okay, the wildfire danger, the drought is going to continue beyond this setup. This rainfall is not going to help us a lot with the drought right now. Better than nothing. It's better than nothing, and I will take any rainfall we'll get, but it's not going to get the job done, guys. We need like 4 or 5 of these events in order to put a dent in the drought across the area here. Okay, so when it's the start time, let's back this up, by the way. Let's go over to this real fast here. I know I had that pulled up earlier. Let's go back over to our severe weather graphic here. Okay, so 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. in a generalized area. Why I said 6 to 10 is because where those supercells develop from Fort Smith to Russellville to Conway to Little Rock. And I may make this a little bit more specific and post this on the page here. But a generalized area is 6 to 1, North Arkansas 11 to 4, and then South Arkansas, unfortunately, I don't see a lot of severe weather down there for tonight here, which is a great thing in terms of severe weather. But you guys need the rainfall just as bad as we do up here in Central and North Arkansas here. So that's what I'm saying across the board at this time here. And also, I do appreciate you guys with all these questions. Y'all are not bugging me at all with these questions. Everybody's asking me questions right now. I appreciate y'all because that means y'all are actually listening. Y'all are trying to prepare and stuff like that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so let me see here. So we're a little north of Hollis across the board. We're at a deer camp. Do we need to prepare for the worst? I think the biggest thing you need to watch out for, Timothy, I'm going to pull your comment up. Biggest thing I would watch out for is going to be the damaging wind and hail threat. Tornado threat, like I mentioned, like you see in the graphic here, a brief spin up will be possible. And that's if a storm were to tap into like a little localized boundary or something like that. Not expecting it. But the damaging wind and the hail threat is definitely going to be there as we get towards this evening into the night here. So kind of watch that very, very closely here. Okay, so Renee, I do appreciate that, by the way. Let me see here. If I got any more comments, let me know. I'm going to double check and make sure I haven't missed anybody's question here. Selena, I got to yours earlier. Let me see here. Okay, I think that is it. Angie, this one right in here. Okay, so if you have to be out, turn around and do not drown here. Now, the biggest thing, let's talk about that real quick. The biggest thing with this flooding threat, when I first saw it, I laughed. I'm going to be honest with you, I laughed when I first saw this threat because I was like, how in the world are we going to get a flooding threat out of this setup when you're in extreme drought? Then I looked at the guidance and I was like, okay, that makes sense. If you have a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity going over the same area over and over and over and over and over again, it sounds great on paper. It sounds wonderful on paper, especially when you're in a drought, but it will not get you out of that setup, okay? You need a slow, steady rainfall over a 2 to 4 day span in order to get out of a drought. You don't need it coming down all at once. It sounds wonderful on paper, but it's not going to get the job done. So that area in green, if, and I mean only if, there were to be a flooding threat tonight, it's going to be because a storm trained over the same area. It's going to be a quick flash for warning, and then you're done. Okay, the ground is extremely dry here, so that's why I was like, when I looked at this at first, I was like, there's no way you're getting a flooding threat out of this tonight. And then I looked, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. With storms kind of training over the same area. So Angie, that's a great comment. If you gotta be out, flash for warning gets issued. Remember, turn around and do not drown across the board here. But I'm not expecting a lot of flooding with this, guys. I was at odds with this when I first saw it. I was like, there's no way you're getting a flooding threat out of this. But we'll watch it close, guys. If anything happens with that, we'll be here. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, here in Conway, thank you for the heads up. Thank you for being here. Colleen, please tell me I got that name correct. I hope I didn't butcher it, but I do appreciate you for being here. Appreciate you guys for being here as well. Already put everything away outdoors so I can blow away. Sandra, great comment. So before, I'm not expecting a major severe weather outbreak or anything like that. I think damaging wind and hail threat will be the primary threat. We will watch out, brief in nature if anything were to occur. But if that were to be the situation with the tornado threat, you guys know we'll be the first ones on board. We'll be the first ones here getting you live information and stuff like that here. But right now, I'm not expecting a big tornado threat out of this. That 6 to 10 time frame concerns me because they're supercells. Let's go to that real quick. Let's talk about that, okay? So let's back this up. Okay, I'm going to zoom this out. And let's go back and let's play this out, okay? So from about 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, right there, okay? So that time frame from 6, you can see some isolated cells trying to get going about 6 o'clock. And then 7, you see I just went from 6 to 7. I went from that little bitty shower to a massive severe storm right out of the gate. That's why I'm saying your instability is going to be there. Okay, if timing was earlier, I'd be really concerned about serious threat. But with timing being this late and when our sun angle is starting to go down and stuff like that, I don't expect a lot of severe weather right out of the gate, but I'll watch it close, especially in this corridor. And then you can see 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, first round moves through. Second round's coming in out of Oklahoma. Okay, so 6 to 10 will be the time frame from that Russellville, Fort Smith, Conway, Little Rock area. That will be the area of concern. And then what's going to happen is those are going to go upscale. It's going to go into the damaging wind threat, and then you're going to be done with the severe threat. And it's just going to be loud storms throughout the overnight hours. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, and also, Sarah, thank you for that comment here. There's a lot of people. I totally forgot we're in fall, and there's a lot of people camping out. I hope they're not burning anything, but there's a lot of people camping out right now in Longview, which is north of Russellville. Do you think that'd be okay as far as damaging wind potential? Let's zoom this down. This is the reason why I kind of like this software, because it kind of gives me like a visual on what to look at here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So this is the area you're talking about, which is north of Russellville. It's 7 p.m. Okay, and you can see 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, you see some showers, thunderstorms move over the area. Per this run, we'll have to wait and see. But right now, I would say watch out for that damaging wind threat because you are in that yellow zone in Russellville. Give them a heads up, Sarah. Give your mom a heads up. Say, hey, there may be some severe thunderstorms this afternoon, this evening, into the night. You know what to do if anything occurs out there. Just give them the heads up while you have the shot. I'm not expecting a widespread area of damaging winds, but just kind of monitor that close. And you guys know if anything occurs unexpected, we will be here. But I hope that answers your question. Just kind of tell her, say, hey, we'll watch the threat close if anything like that. Brittany, the Lone Oak area. So before let's back this up here, let's go over to that 7 p.m. time frame. The Lone Oak area here, which is going to be right here just east of Little Rock. I do believe your threat's going to be a little bit to the north. Like I said, it just depends on what storms initiate. Guidance is all over the place on where this initiates across the board here. And also, I'm getting a lot of questions in the inbox here, especially across Southwest Arkansas. Southwest Arkansas, Southern Arkansas, it's going to be limited. I mean, it's going to be a very limited threat down there. I think the best shot's going to be across northern Arkansas. Let's move this over so you guys can see the map closer. But yeah, it's going to be a very limited threat across the area here. Okay, so if you're just not tuning in, by the way, here in the live stream, you can always back it up and stuff like that. Perry, Arkansas, Joanne, the same thing for you. Damaging winds, hail, primary threats. I cannot rule out brief spin up, but I wouldn't stress so much about it. Selena made a great point. Just prepare for it and be ready to go here, guys. Okay, so I think that is it in terms of all the questions here. Let me double check myself and make sure we're good. I've been live for over an hour, so I do appreciate you guys being here and asking all the questions. There's not much going on right now in terms of rainfall here, but the number one thing I'm going to stress to everybody right now, don't forget to send those photos in tonight. If you can do it safely, please do. Let me double check something real quick in terms of model guidance here, because I just got a message to check the model guidance here. Okay, so let's take a look. I can do this real quickly because that's 16. Let's take a look at 7 p.m. tonight. Okay, and let's take a look at the reflectivity with this. Okay, so there it is right there. Okay, so it's not as aggressive. This is a new run, by the way. It's not as aggressive as it was before. We can see about 8 p.m. Check this out. It's not as aggressive as it was before, which is great news. But I said before, I would not take this with any kind of beta at this point. Okay, that 6 to 10 time frame still stands. I think it's going to verify pretty good across the area here, but we'll just have to watch it close across the area. Also, I see a comment about the frost potential. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. We're going to have that tomorrow for you guys. We're going to talk about that as we get towards your Tuesday, Wednesday time frame here, because I do believe you'll see your first frost and freeze advisories, freeze watches and freeze warnings start going out for that Tuesday time frame here. But right now, I'm just kind of zoned in on this severe threat for tonight here. So it's not as widespread as it was before. And we'll watch it close. Still, for model guys can go back and forth at times here in terms of initiation. But I definitely watched that Fort Smith the Russellville area, the Conway area for tonight. I think it's underdoing the rainfall up here. The 12Z had it best. Let's go back to it real quick. This is what I'm mainly looking forward to as we get towards tonight here. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for. Let me double check and make sure we are good. Okay, and I think we're fine in terms of all comments. Okay, so with all that stuff coming overnight across very north part of Arkansas, wind, if there were to be a severe threat up there in North Arkansas tonight, it's going to be spotty, damaging winds. May see some strong wind gusts, those storms, especially early on. And then as we get towards the overnight hours, the threats should start decreasing very rapidly across the area. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in. I think that's it for all the questions. All right, you can always rewind a live stream across the board if you need that information. We'll be here tonight. If anything occurs, we will be here. Watch out for that 6 to 10 time frame. Let's draw this out real quick. From Fort Smith to Russellville to Little Rock. Watch out right through here for a damaging wind and hail threat about 6 to 10 p.m., excuse me. And then North Arkansas, I'd say 11 to 6 a.m. up here. This is going to be an overnight threat up here in North Arkansas. Central Arkansas is going to be this evening. This round up here will move south overnight tonight and the early part of your Sunday morning. So keep that in mind here for any travel goers and stuff like that. Watch that closely as we get towards later on tonight and the early part of your Sunday morning here. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys right now. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated right here, your source for all things Arkansas weather.